And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm frustrated. And I said, God, show me. And He led me to John chapter 6, verse 1. After these things, John chapter 6, verse 1, Jesus went over the Sea of Galilee, which is the Sea of Tiberias. And a great multitude followed Him because, underline the word because. A great multitude followed Him because they saw His miracles, which He did on them that were diseased. Now, isn't that interesting? We know from comparing Scripture with Scripture that at this time Jesus had more than 5,000 men. Despite women, besides women and children, 5,000 men following Him. And it says here they were following Him because they saw His miracles. And I began to look at that and I say, yeah, God, that's what we want. But you know, there are a lot of people that are drawn to miracles that aren't really involved in what's going on. If you notice, the Jews who hated Jesus, who always talked about Jesus, were at every one of His meetings. You know why? Because He was raising the dead. He was casting out devils. There was a crowd there, and people will follow lights, camera, and action. People will show up to something successful. People will follow something that works. People will get involved in things. When they see things happening for you, they will jump on the bandwagon. And although that may be enough to draw a man, that's not enough to keep a man. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he began to just tell me about a church in this city. He said, oh, Brother Mike, you've never heard of him? I said, yeah, I've heard of him. He said, that used to be the in thing in this city back in the 70s and 80s. I said, what? He said, oh, yeah, that was popular, which is one of the worst things I think you can ever use to describe a church, popular. Yes. Yes. And it hit me. I said, God, are we going to be the in thing for the 90s? 15, 20,000 people, and then in 2005, we can't even fill up the dome? I said, God, are we just something popular? Yeah, we got a young pastor, man, he's hip, it's exciting, man, you got to come hear their choir. Are we something that's popular because crowds are here? And I thought about it, I said, no, there's got to be something beyond this. I'll never forget, I went to a church with, or a conference in Cleveland, Ohio, just a couple months ago. And when I went there, I never grew up in church, never went to church, I mean, maybe 3 or 4 times, something like that. And I went, and the only church I've ever been to, really, I went to Benny Hinn's church for about 8 months in Orlando, and then I came to this church. And I got to this conference, and they had every bishop, reverend, deacon, doctor, pastor, evangelist. That I've never seen so many titles in my life. I mean, it's a 2-sided business card. On this side, it's bishop, reverend, doctor, bishop, and you turn it over, and it's doctor. I mean, it's just amazing. And these guys, there was this big conference going on in the city, and every preacher from everywhere showed up. They had big lights and camera, and they said, now we're going to hear from deacon such and so, and now we're going to hear from reverend such and so. I mean, I'm falling asleep. We haven't got to the message. We're talking about yes. And they get up and they're talking about, well, the guy that's holding it, bishop such and so, he's such a great man, great man. And it really hit me, why are these people here? And I began to look, you know why? Because they want to be in the lights. They want to be in the camera. They want to be with what's happening, with what's working. But you know what? As soon as another conference comes to town, they'll be moved on to that conference as well. There are people that follow ministries. There are people that follow people just because of the spectacular, just because of the external, just because of what they can see, the glamour, the glory, the status. And that might be enough to draw them in. But when the storms come, it won't keep them. And Benny Hinn, who is popular, Kenneth Copeland, who is popular, you look on their broadcast, man, you see all these huge, great numbers of pastors there, but in 10 years, 20 years, if there's something bigger, half those guys will be gone. Because prestige and accomplishment makes everybody want to be your buddy. But when that's gone, they're gone.